Okay. It's a team effort here. Okay. Woo. I'm grateful for that. Okay. Now we're, yeah, so I mean, it would have gone out, but it wouldn't have been recorded. This is worth saving.
And we'll put it up on the 5D Village website.
Yes.
The YouTube channel.
So we're just since we're just starting the recording, this event is called Quantum Healing in the Zero Point, and it's on September 9th, 2018. We're here in Sebastapol at the temple on Pleasant Hill. And we, what?
999.
Oh, 999. Okay. A very auspicious date. It's also Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, and I'm Jewish, so it's a the Jewish New Year symbolizes in traditional Jewish culture the creation, the new creation of the new earth every year. So what a great time to be doing this. I don't know if my rabbi would approve, but I mean, I think it's otherwise it's very, very good. So as far as this ascension, I think one of the best analogies I know is surfing. Has anyone here ever done any surfing? Okay, yeah. Well, with surfing, especially with big waves, you're either surfing on top of the wave and it's this amazing ride, very exhilarating, or you're wiping out and the wave is crashing on your head and it's terrifying, overwhelming, and you feel like you're suffocating. So with all these rapidly elevating energies, those are the two main options, and of course lots of things in between. And of course we can just feel okay too. I mean, I'm not saying that's gone away, but as the energy raises, it's activating parts of us. And so being in what I call your calm center, your zero point, becomes more and more crucial for your own peace of mind and for you to be able to do what you're here to do. So I also want to acknowledge another very special person here, Vidya Frazier. And she's actually someone who has been talking about the Ascension. She's written 3 books about it, and she's been helping people to adapt their energy to the Ascension for how many years is it now? Can't count that high. Yeah, yeah. So she's done a lot to take it and make it in a way that many people can understand through her books. So one of the things that's traditional to do on Rosh Hashanah is to blow what's called the Shofar. And somewhere around here I brought something like that. So this is not the traditional Jewish Shofar, which is supposed to be a ram's horn. But since it's Rosh Hashanah, I'm going to blow the conch. Okay, so. So this is definitely not just a lecture. So we're going to both get some intellectual knowledge and mostly experience of the quantum field. And this is something that's described by both in quantum physics through scientific equations and cutting-edge research, and also as a spiritual principle that you can experience. And so what the opportunity is tonight at this special gathering is to claim your greater ability to directly attune to the quantum field. And what's known, the way it's described in physics and also described in spirituality, is it's a field of unlimited possibilities. So literally that's what it means. It's a field that's undifferentiated. It hasn't yet collapsed into physical things like this, and it could turn into anything in the universe, and it does. It keeps turning into everything in the universe. Those things go back into formlessness, and then they go back into form. And so rather than just a theoretical idea, we're all definitely in the quantum field. It's just that they didn't teach us in kindergarten how to be aware of it. So we're learning it in other ways now. So I want to know how many of you here would like to increase your ability to directly experience the quantum field on both a physical level and a non-physical level? Okay. And also, how many people would like to become unfreakable in the face of stress and be in your calm center more easily? Okay, yeah, well, then you're in the right place. I'm sure everybody who is attracted to this gathering already knows that your true self is part of the universal oneness of the universe, which can be called by many, many names. And yet I know that so many of us, including especially me, have known that all my life and yet have struggled often to really enjoy it or feel it or to have difficulty meditating, difficulty opening my heart, difficulty like really fully living what I always knew was true from a very young age. And that's basically the dilemma that we have in the human race. So we've built up so much just conditioning that's come from lifetimes and lifetimes and so much shared stuff that we could talk just about that all night. And it's affected all of us. And so on one hand, this time of ascension, the door is way more open to directly plugging into the source of all love, all light, all abundance, changing this planet rapidly and solving all these issues we have. We have more of that than ever, but then this accumulated conditioning, that's called samskaras in Buddhism and Eastern thought, has gotten very heavy too. So it's so the challenge is, what can we do to kind of cut through that? Because I think working out our karma and being on a gradual spiritual path to improve ourselves might just take a really long time. We need like a get out of jail free card, basically. So that's what this is about tonight, okay? So while like doing this work would be wonderful anytime, like I said, this timing is extremely auspicious. Not only is it Rosh Hashanah, not only is it 999, not only is it like very close to the changing of the season, but we're about to move into this midterm election in our country, which Obama just said, and I agree, is probably the most crucial election we've been through in my lifetime. Even though it's not even a presidential election, it's extremely crucial, regardless of what our political beliefs are. And then there's all this deal with the Supreme Court. There's so many things. So one of the things that's going to happen tonight that wasn't in the original plan, but is toward the end, we're going to do a group blessing for our United States and for the planet with all this energy we build up here, all this consciousness we tap into. Because we're extremely powerful when we do that, when we choose to do that. So I hope you'll join me on that. So one of the questions is like, why is things so seemingly on the physical 3D level so heavy duty? Why do things seem so difficult and these crises are so terrible and all that? I know that that's not the ultimate truth, but on the level where we live, the 3D and 4D level. And I would like to say that I believe that the human race is a fallen race. This is not our regular state. We've fallen so far down from our actual natural state of being. And why we've done that is a whole thing I'm not going to get into now. You can read Vidya's most recent book. What's the name of your most recent book again? Yeah, her book, Triumph of the Light, will give you more of the why and how we got to this point. So, read that, but I'm not going to go there. Just say that I'm totally convinced that what we're living in now is very low vibration compared to who we actually are and what our potential experience is. How many people feel that? I mean, am I the only? I read this book in the 60s that I read 4 times because I loved it so much. It was called Been Down So Long It Seems Like Up to Me, by Richard Ferrania. And that's what it's like in this way. So in reality, we are sovereign God beings that are connected to all the dimensions from like the divine thought, source of divine love, source of everything, and here in the physical and all the way to the core of the earth. And we're sovereign beings because nobody can force us to do anything ultimately. Like we are free to choose what we want to create, what we want to experience. But we've given that power away. Almost all of us have just given it away through all kinds of ways. And again, I'm not going to go into the why and how about that. The main thing is to reclaim that power of choice, of direct connection to divine. We don't need any intermediaries. You don't need, religious intermediaries or political. You don't need me as an intermediary. You don't need it's just direct. We're just here to remind each other of that and share our gifts with each other to help clear and to make it easier. So how do you command the universe? Anybody know how to command the universe? Well, first of all, I want to tell you that there's some good and bad news about the universe. Well, the bad news about the universe is there actually is no key to the universe. But the good news is that it's been left unlocked. That's the good thing. That's it. But how do you command the universe? Well, I'd say it's through using your divine creative power through intention. And intention is the most powerful thing we have. Like everything that we ever do comes from intention. And according to Wayne Dyer, who wrote the book, The Power of Intention, the whole universe has been created by intention. So everything that we're experiencing, we have intended on some level, whether it's conscious or subconscious. So what I'm going to do is, and when we intend, it affects the quantum field to manifest in some way. So it's just a matter of remembering that we have that power and using it for what we want, not for what we don't want. So there's three keys that we're going to go over tonight, and experientially. One of them is understanding what the 0 point is and experiencing a meditation to go into the 0 point. And it's very simple, fortunately. And when you're in your 0 point, which I'll explain what it means both scientifically and spiritually, you're in your calm center. And then there's this great analogy called the eye of a hurricane. That I used to live in Florida where big hurricanes happen, and we just had some major ones over the last year. And hurricanes can be so violent, they can be uprooting trees and knocking down buildings, but the middle of it is always perfectly peaceful, no matter how violent the hurricane is. And that's called the eye of the hurricane. And so just tune into that for a moment. You have that too. Like no matter what's going on, like a mind might be negative and spun out and reactive, but the eye of the hurricane is always there. So we don't have to fix the mind. We have to just know how to go to the calm center. Fixing the mind seems like a very difficult task. I mean, it'll happen eventually, but I don't want to wait that long. So, yeah. And by the way, this is a book that I wrote that I have a few copies of here called Reclaiming Your Calm Center that is all about that subject, how we got to the point we're at, some of the psychological things that most people don't ever think about, and then all the practices to put you in your calm center. So I'll talk about that later. So the first key, so that's the first key, is knowing how to go into the 0 point. The second one is learning to sense the quantum field, so it becomes very tangible. It's not like some weird theoretical woo-woo thing, but it's just right here. It's just as tangible as any of this. Because it is. It's actually more real than any of this. And so that's the other aim of tonight. How many people here are aware that you have a light body? Practice actually tuning in to the quantum field. Yeah, good. And then what we actually can do tonight and will do tonight is bring in what's called an activation of the light body. It's something that comes from divine source, and you have to choose it. And what can't be done to you, you have to choose it. But if you choose that, it means that the light, the sacred geometry of your body that is in light, can be amplified permanently. Once these happen, you can't go back, by the way. So this is not something like you have to do 20 minutes a day or something. I mean, every time you have an activation, you're going to a higher level of your ascension. And a part that I've gotten a lot of information about over the last 6 months or so is that, well, actually for longer, is that we all know we have DNA in all the cells of our body. And DNA, in high school they said it holds the genetic code, but that's just a small part of what it does. It also is encoded with light, and DNA is encoded with frequencies, and it can vibrate on different levels. So right now we have, scientists say we have 2 strands of DNA in each double helix. And like a lot of information that's come through is saying that we actually have way more strands than that. They just are turned off. They're switched off in us because we've given that power away. And that if we were to we have 12 strands of DNA, and if we could activate more, the more of those that become activated and come into light, all these great things happen, like your immune system gets stronger, your consciousness is higher, your heart is more full of love, you can accomplish your visions more easily, and you become more of a solution on earth. So that's what we're all working on, right? So that's another thing that will happen tonight. To whatever extent you choose it and you're ready for it, you can receive an activation of your DNA and of your light body. Okay? Very cool stuff. So what is quantum healing? That's what's on my business card. Actually, I don't even have a business card. I ran out. But if I did have a business card, it would say quantum healer on it. Is that it's tapping into the quantum field so that you're in the quantum field and then extending it to someone else through your intention. That's what quantum healing is. Another thing is that I mentioned we're going to talk about the human assemblage point. and that's Assemblage Point is the place, and you experienced that, Lorraine. Yeah. The Assemblage Point is the place where your energy fields, which surround your body, the energy bodies, which are much bigger than, line up with your physical body, and it should be right here in your heart chakra. And most people who come into I have a practice in Mill Valley where I do quantum healing in an office there. So most people that come in, and several people here have been there, I check their Assemblage Point and it's lined up properly. But then when it's off in some direction, you get pretty discombobulated, and all these other holistic healing things just don't work that well. It has to be done, in my experience, before other healing methods will work well. So anyway, I'm going to explain that later, and whoever wants to be checked, I can check your Assemblage Point, and then there'll be a little time at the end to adjust some people's if they want that done, if that needs to be done. So in order to, before we go into all these practices, in order to just maybe better understand some of this, is it okay if I tell you a little bit about how I got into this stuff? Yeah, it might make it a little more clear, right, a little less abstract. Keep it brief, but some of this might be helpful. Is that I grew up in the 50s and 60s in a Jewish middle-class family in New Jersey. And I would say I'd categorize my youth by saying I felt very heavy emotionally, like kind of shut down, heavy, alienated. Just not very well connected. And later I read some books about trauma and PTSD, and I realized I had a lot of those symptoms, although we didn't know those words back in those days. I didn't even know the word dysfunctional family back then. It hadn't even been invented yet. And my family was relatively good, though. It wasn't that dysfunctional, but I still took on a lot of things. And so the other thing I noticed is that even in spite of that, I always had this sense that there was this very expansive energy around me. So it was sort of like this weird dual experience of feeling kind of weighted down and heavy and alienated, with this feeling like, wow, if I just hang in there, this is going to be good because I can sense this. There's this bigger picture there. So that was my dual experience growing up. And I definitely did my share of all the 60s stuff and all the drugs and LSD and all that, and had a few little glimpses of higher reality. But anyway, by the time I was 19 years old, I was done with drugs, burned out on that. I went to India to be with a guru who I met in Boulder, Colorado, who was 13 years old. And I went to India with him for several months and started studying meditation and facing myself in many new ways. And was really involved in that path through most of my whole 20s, like living in ashrams, spiritual centers, and doing service and meditating. I didn't have much of a career except carpentry and things like that. And by the time I got to so again, that heaviness, that no matter how much I meditated, how much practice I did, sort of that heaviness and inner pain never really cleared. I did so much stuff, studied so many spiritual practices, and it was helpful. It helped me to find my calm center, but it still felt like I couldn't really lighten up that much. So I was wondering how to do that. So about in my early 30s, I started studying acupuncture. I was living in South Florida. I got married, had a child, and became an acupuncturist. Eventually got a doctorate in Chinese medicine. And one of my teachers was a guy who had created all these electronic acupuncture devices. So that got me started with that kind of energy technology. And eventually I created my own technologies, and then started going around the country teaching seminars about these healing technologies, this electronic acupuncture. It's called the Accutron device. So anyway, I did that for a long time, and for a while I was doing like 20 seminars a year around the country and working super hard and all that. So just to fast forward to just a few years ago, I got to a point where I felt pretty empty, like I'm doing all this stuff, I have this business, and I'm doing all this, but it didn't feel like it was satisfying me. I felt like there was some big things missing. So I went to Guatemala to do a private retreat and met with these Mayan shamans, and two different Mayan shamans through a translator said to me, what you're doing is okay, but you're not really doing your right path, And I said, well, how do I find that out? They said, you need to use plant medicine. So I thought they were talking about Chinese herbs or some kind of, I didn't know what they meant by that. So I said finally I talked to the woman there who ran the center. She said, oh, they mean ayahuasca. I said, okay, do you have any ayahuasca? Oh, no, we don't have any of that here. So I came back to the United States, was in my office in Mill Valley just a few weeks later, And a woman came in who had an Accutron device and said, "Can you please help me get it working?" So while I was doing that, I said, "By the way, what do you do?" She said, "Oh, my husband and I do ayahuasca ceremonies in San Diego." So I figured that I'm supposed to do this. Okay, so I went down and I did 4 ceremonies over a 10-day period. And I won't talk about it that much, except I'll say that it was like a Christmas carol, like with Scrooge, Ebenezer Scrooge. Like I saw the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future of my life. I saw that I was heading like down, but Jesus came and showed me, you have a chance, dude. You know, if you really do what you're here to do and really do your purpose, you can have an amazing life. And so I left those ceremonies with my assemblage point way whacked out. And I felt totally spacey and couldn't get grounded for a long time. But I did have a very valuable wake-up call, like that I'm just going to take a stand and do what I'm here to do, even if I don't know what it is. So I started seeking out people that did higher dimensional healing around Marin and Sonoma. And I was lucky to run into 3 amazing women. One of them is Susanna Redolphs. Another one is named Deborah Wayne, who's down in San Diego. And the third one is Meg Benedicte. And all 3 of them mentored me and taught me what they knew about this higher 5th dimensional healing. And so I started doing it. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to start doing this. And so again, I'll make this story as short as I can. I had a lot of hit and miss, like ups and downs, like people having amazing results, then no results. And so I just kept seeking, like, what do I need to do to really like have less of me and more of the divine? And I'll just say that at this point, what I've been blessed to feel is that most of the people, the vast majority who come to me, are having these miraculous experiences. And I know that I'm doing a lot less, kind of getting out of the way and just following what comes to me in each moment. So I'm very grateful that, and I feel like I am doing what I'm here to do now. I'm not in that dead zone anymore, that's semi-mediocre or whatever it was. So the final part of my story is that I felt Jesus came and was communicating with me and telling, and I'm Jewish. I didn't grow up Christian, but Jesus was a Jew after all, so I guess that makes sense. He was communicating with me and saying, I want you to like create some kind of school and teach other doctors and healers how they can be in this, doing this ascension work, because each one of them can touch hundreds of people and get it out there more. So I started a school about 1.5 years ago called Bridge to Mastery, and I've had students in it, and a few of them are on there now, hello, in the Zoom. And it's been an amazing thing. So this is really part of the Bridge to Mastery, like doing these kind of presentations. So anyway, that's my little story, and let's jump in now into these 3 keys. Okay, I think I have water here. Okay, the first key is 0 point meditation. Now, I made some handouts that I'd like to give out to you. Okay, yeah, that'd be great, Lori. Thank you. You don't need the handouts now. That's just for later. Right now, I don't need to focus on anything like that, but I just want you to have it. And I don't know if I only printed 12 of them, so if it's not enough, I can definitely have the PDF I can email you, certainly, if you didn't. Okay, so 0 point. Let's talk about the 0 point. The 0 point is, in terms of physics, is considered to be the ground energy of a vacuum state. So what that means is there's Newtonian physics, which is based on what we can measure, that's more like logical and can be measured with scientific instruments. And then there's quantum physics, which is more spooky and doesn't follow all those neat rules. So if you were to take all matter out of a vacuum and you create a vacuum, Newtonian physics would say there's nothing left. But quantum physics say, yes, there is something left. You can never get rid of everything, because everything's fluctuating in the quantum field. So the whole universe is filled with a very tiny amount of energy, even like the vacuum of outer space. And the ancient rishis of Ayurveda and from the Vedas called it ether, because they knew it wasn't empty. They knew there's actually something there, and that's been called ether. Not the Ethernet, it's ether, and so I just want to make sure that's clear. And so, people that are starting to talk about interstellar space travel, they say the way that would happen is by tapping into this 0 point energy that exists in the vacuum of space. If we can find a way to tap into it, you could go forever just based on the energy that comes from space. And we could probably create all the energy we need on Earth without fossil fuels and so on by tapping into this. So it's cutting edge science. There's a lot of people working on it. On the spiritual level, it's the part inside of you that's in oneness that you can actually practically tap into. Not a theory. It's something you can actually tap into and feel, which is what we're going to do now. So I just want to ask, like, what do people, have you ever thought about, what do you think the ultimate root of human suffering is? If you could just say one thing, what do you think it is?
Separation.
You got it. What's your name? Chris, thank you. Yep, that's what I would say. Anybody else have any thoughts about it? He said separation. Yeah, separation. Yeah, I believe that we were created to be connected to a state of oneness, of source, and then to play in this material world and, you know, just do whatever we're going to do here, but to always stay connected to that. So what happens is that we somehow had amnesia and forgot about the source, and that's symbolized by Adam and Eve eating the apple and reading from that's called the apple of the knowledge of good and evil. Like basically they stepped into duality. It's a symbolizing the human race stepping into duality. And again, why and how, I'm not going to go into all that, but because I don't know. That's why I'm not going to go into it. But anyway, but because of duality, it creates all the struggle, all the lack, you know, all the conflict, and even death, you know, and even diseases, all the things we have, because we have given up the 0 point and are living in duality. So what this is about then, in fact, my teacher, that first guru I had, the one I met back in the 70s, Maharaji, had this wonderful quote where he said, we are so numbed, we're in such suffering because we can't feel our oneness, and we've gotten numb to it, we've gotten used to it. You know, it's like it seems normal. Because like there's this old Arabic saying that there's no such thing as hell because you can get used to anything. It just becomes your new normal. But if we were not numbed out, it's agony to be in where you feel inside the deep part of yourself is there's a duality. And so duality exists on the third dimension and the fourth dimension. Third dimension is the physical stuff, and the fourth dimension is of our mind and emotions. Just to put it really simply, there's a lot more to it than that, but that's a simple way to look at it. But the fifth dimension is where we first can tap into oneness. And it's totally here. We're in the fifth dimension. We don't have to go anywhere. It's just attuning to it, right? Just becoming aware of it. So when the I am presence is our true, it's our God self manifesting as us in action. The I am presence is God manifesting as us in action. If you don't like the word God, use a different name. I'm not attached to any of those words. And so lately for me, my greatest, you know, happiness and relief from my own neuroses has been to be in the I am presence, to be in the 0 point and to be feeling this presence, and to just as much as possible. Sometimes I feel like I'm holding on to it like a person drowning, holding on to a life raft or something. Other times it's just more easy and flowing. But either way, that's what I'm up to these days, is being in that 0 point, because it really is a still point. And it's always there in the midst of all the multitasking and all the other things of the mind. So anybody have anything to say about that? Anybody else want to say anything about the 0 point or the quantum field? Have any thoughts about it? Questions? Yes, Denny.
I recently heard a group of nothings, zero gravity, zero, about 4 or 5 qualities that are zeros, or quantities that are zero. Can you help me remember those? Zero gravity, zero force, zero distraction, zero movement.
I don't know about that. But I'm sure they're all connected. Yes, Dan?
Are you going to talk about the eight, the lazy eight?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. That's going to be part of the thing here. So again, my experience is that increasing my focus on the 0 point puts me into the I am presence, like my conscious experience of the I am presence. And then accessing the quantum field of unlimited possibilities, there's much less struggle and effort and using my mind and techniques, and it just seems to flow more. And my ultimate goal is that things just come to me, because I have been such a hardworking, multitasking, list-oriented person. And because of running a school and all these things, they're putting on this workshop. There's a lot on the list. So my goal is to let things just come to me more. And it's happening. I see progress in that way. Getting in touch with my feminine side more. But the thing is, the more I'm in the presence, the more I feel like the quantum field is tangible, and the more the clients I work with are having like these, much more breakthrough experiences with less effort and less sessions and all that. So that's how I'm seeing it. So what we're going to start with, the first practice is called multidimensional clearing. Okay, we have a series of practices that are listed on that sheet. Can I see your sheet a moment? What's your name? Gwendolyn, hi. Okay, so the practices that we're going to do all these tonight would be the multidimensional clearing, sacred heart alignment, the 0 point, tuning into the 0 point, the light body activation. Thank you. Okay, so this is going to be a guided meditation. Just put yourself in a comfortable position. Maybe take a sip of water if you have some, would probably be a great idea. And again, everybody online, please, you're just part of us, so please just follow along and just act as though you're here in the room, or as Peter Sellers would say, in the room. Okay, very good. So that's the Pink Panther thing. So eyes open or closed is okay. So just intend through your power of intention to feel the presence that's in this room, or whatever room you're in if you're in another part of the country. Just open yourself to the love and the connectedness. And if you choose as a sovereign being to come more into your 0 point, oneness, then just simply intend it. Now there's already a very strong transmission energy in the room, just because we're all here and we're all intending it, and whatever other reasons there are, the auspicious date or many other things. So now I'm going to suggest that you do an invocation. That means invocation means to call upon. So do an invocation for whatever you personally feel connected with, whether it's God or Jesus or the angels or ascended masters, my higher self, mother, whatever's meaningful to you that you consider your helpers who help you that bring you grace or help you on your path. When you call upon any of that, it comes. They come, however you want to put it. If you have a prayer to put out, you can do that as well. Just relax. This is not about efforting. The ego would like to come in and say, "Oh, am I doing it right? Or maybe I'm not that good of a meditator. Am I following what he's saying?" That's ego. That's not needed right now. Just laugh at it and let it be in the background. All you have to do is trust. Just have the intention and trust that whatever needs to be happening is happening. So put your attention onto your heart. And sometimes it's helpful to even put a palm of one of your hands over your heart chakra, the center of your chest. Sometimes that helps to bring more energy and presence there. And start by feeling the love that you have for the earth. Just feel how grateful you are to this Mother Earth, how beneficent she is with us. In spite of how much we've abused our earth, that she keeps giving us food and shelter and all the sacred fields that we live in, and on and on and on and on. And so I'm going to ask you to tune into the feeling of love for the earth, and just with your intention, imagine it's like a little white ball in your heart, white marble, and just charge that marble with your love and gratitude for the earth. When you feel like it's really charged up, just send it down through the pillar of your chakras and down into the earth, and just see it go all the way to the core of the earth, sending your love to Mother Earth. And just see the center of the earth as like a molten iron magnetic core that grounds us and roots us. And now the next thing is visualize that from your root chakra that you're sitting on, that a really solid, powerful grounding cord is going down, barreling, drilling through the earth, and going to the core of the earth also. You can imagine it as a tree, as a long tree trunk, or as a steel pipe, or a glass fiber optic cable, or whatever suits your fancy. And just feel it, like feel it in your root chakra, that grounded connecting to the core of the earth. With love. And now just feel that the love of Mother Earth comes back up, that grounding cord, and comes into your chakra pillar and comes back to your heart as the answer. And it's really helpful if you put the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth behind your two front teeth. That's called the master hookup, and it'll give you much more benefit from these practices. So now next, you can roll your eyes up slightly up in your eye sockets and feel like feel the love you have for the universe, for the higher domains, the angels, the masters, the divine, the higher universes, like the source where you might have originally come from out there. I know the place I come from I call the crystal universe. It doesn't matter if you have a name for it. So just send your love upward this time. So I'm going up from your heart, up through the throat, middle of the brain, crown, and just going up in a pillar of light, going really, really high, as high as you can even imagine, through all the galaxies and everything, up to the source, the highest source, and just send your love to the universe. Again, you can imagine your heart like another little white ball charged with your love and appreciation, and send that up that column. And if it's hard to imagine the whole universe, just send it to the sun. That'll work fine, to our sun. And now feel the response, that a wave of divine love, energy, blessing comes down that pillar, sometimes called the Antakarana bridge, and it comes into your crown chakra, through your brain, through your throat, and back to your heart. Again, it doesn't matter if there's no way you can do this wrong. I want to tell you again, if you have a critical mind wondering, all you have to do is intend it and relax, and you're doing it. I assure you of that. And now that's two parts of the love. The third part of the Trinity of love is self-love. So what I request you do is just totally accept yourself exactly as you are, love yourself, appreciate yourself, and send that into your heart also. The good, the bad, and the ugly, whatever has been going on, just choose to love yourself and accept yourself. I know I have had the fault of being very self-critical about comparing myself to how I wish I could be or think I should be, but I'm learning just that self-love is much greater than any of those yardsticks. Now breathe into that this is your sacred heart. Connecting to the Mother Earth, Father Sky, the universe, and your own self-love. Now, to move from this place of the Sacred Heart, we're going to move into this clearing, to clear whatever, maybe we can let go of some things that have been making us feel heavy or blocked or any issues. So just staying with that love. Think about what conflicts, blockages, energy drains, issues that you might have been affecting you lately. Now, if there hasn't been anything affecting you lately, and you're in a state of bliss now, then just ignore that instruction and just enjoy it. But if there has been anything that you feel like you could clear out of your field, or you could transform so that this ascension energy could take you to the next level, or that you could just accept yourself more, whatever it is, just what has that been for you? It's okay to use your mind now. Think about it for a moment. Anything that's been troubling you, holding you back, that you've been worrying about, something that you haven't liked about yourself, or frustration about anything, those just represent a lot of what I call residue from all our existences. Doesn't matter how they are right now. So now what we want to do is not think about those things or analyze them, but just tune into the energetic sensation of those conflicts or those issues. Again, just intend to feel, where in my body am I feeling or sensing these, these burdens, blockages, samskaras, issues, whatever you want to call them. And just ask your consciousness to guide you to where in your body it's hooked in. Again, if this is something to clear. Now, just when you find that, just drop into that place. Just drop your attention. Usually what I and so many people have done when we feel discomfort is try to do something to get away from it. Now, in the old days, it was more like drugs and this and that and the other thing. But now it's, I could try to get away from it by meditating. I could try to get away from it by doing a kind act for someone. I could try to get away from it by doing the next thing on my to-do list or checking my email. It gets subtler and subtler, running from the self. So in this case, let's not run. Let's just drop into whatever that is and just be with it. Be with that energy. Breathe into it. Sometimes it's helpful to put your hand over that area again. And now simply intend, let's take a couple more minutes. I'll just be silent. You can just be with this part of yourself. Many times we have layers of numbness and denial over these places inside ourselves. So you could intend just to let those ease. Okay, so the next part of this is extend the quantum field. Just simply intend that you are taking this part of yourself, where these challenges, issues, and just simply putting it into this quantum field of unlimited possibilities, of pure love. Relax. Just relax. This is called alchemy. It's not about doing. You just take these issues, take these samskaras, samskara is a word from Buddhism that means like painful impressions that are in your subconscious mind that keep creating suffering in your life, that are based on karma and all that. So whatever they are, just what to do is just put it into the quantum field. It's your get out of jail free card. And just keep coming back to that self-love, self-connection as you do this. Now, sometimes in order to really clear, it's necessary for us to express something. So, just feel into yourself if there's anything that this part of you needs to express, verbally or in terms of movement. So I'm going to do a little bit of drumming, and what I'm going to welcome you to do is to do that expression. I just really urge you to not worry about shyness or self-consciousness. You know, we're all adults here. Nobody's going to judge you. And if you need to say something, if you need to make an animal sound or yell or stamp your feet or anything, or just hum or tone, anything, your body wisdom knows how to do this. Just ask, what do you have to do to unwind in the quantum field? Hey yada ya ya, hey hey yada hey ya ya ya. Sometimes animal sounds. Ow! You need to get up and move. Just do whatever you need to do. Your body knows what it has to do to unwind. Just intending. I'm releasing all these things. I don't need it anymore. I'm ready to be free of this. The quantum field can do this. Hiya na na ya na ya ya na na ya do da ma na ya da ya do da na ya ya da ya da da hey ya da na 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 ya na 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 hey ya na 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 ya na. There's some rhythm instruments in the corner if anyone wants to use it. Na na ya na na ya 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 da na na na. Okay, will you do? For me personally, my core issue has been a feeling of abandonment I've experienced a lot of suffering in my life because of feeling abandoned or isolated or rejected or me rejecting others. My mother had a similar thing, issue. And what I've been experiencing lately is when I feel that, I'm putting it into the 0 point, and it's amazing. I mean, like in other words, it's instead of like taking it personally, like I have to solve this or whatever it is, it's very hard to put in words, but just basically feeling this 0 point, which we're gonna go more into the 0 point technique in a moment here. So I haven't done that yet, but it's that alchemy. It's basically ground yourself in this field, the presence, and then whatever you feel, it doesn't matter, how most beautiful, like loving, blissful feelings or the most tormented feeling inside, it doesn't matter. It can hold it all. And it doesn't take any understanding. It just takes kind of knowing where your bread is buttered kind of thing. So yeah, it's very profound. Okay, so now we're going to work with the 0 point specifically. So again, if you haven't had any water recently, I certainly recommend take a sip of water. And there's water in the kitchen there if you need to get some, if you didn't bring any with you. Okay, so yeah. Yeah. So just make your spine as straight as you can. Put the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth right behind your two front teeth. That's called the master hookup. Connects the major energy channel on the front and back of your body, the vertical channels, the conception vessel and the governing vessel. Okay, and then put your attention on the lower part of your chest. And just close your eyes and tune into that area. It's the center of the Merkaba, which is something we're going to talk about later, the light body. But for right now, just go to the lower part of your chest, like in the center of your body. And again, just think about, it's okay to use your mind, think about some of those issues you're thinking about earlier. I mean, maybe just like what are some of the polarities that we struggle with? Like, maybe for mine it's been success or failure. People liking me, people don't liking me. Feeling like I'm having a good day or a bad day. Or I'm loving myself or I'm not loving myself. Or I have a strong ego, I don't have a... I mean, there's all these kind of polarities that we just, that's the devil's bargain. Basically, it's that... the Adam and Eve's apple kind of thing, put us into this. So just think of a few of those things. Just think of any things that you have struggled about back and forth. She loves me not, all those kind of things. Just think of a few of those things from your life and just imagine that there is I'm going to draw it for you. It's and Dan, would you make sure this is, maybe focus in on this a little bit? So the way this would look, I'm going to draw it in my rather limited art form here. Just imagine this is a human body. So this would be the heart chakra right about here, okay? And then a little bit below it, we're imagining that there is a lazy 8, figure 8. And I learned this technique from Meg Benedicte. I love it, I do it every day. And then the center of the head, there's another lazy 8, figure 8, infinity symbol. So what this represents is that these are the two polarities. All the polarized things, the pairs of opposites. So we go back and forth, up and down. So there's one in the center of the head, there's another one here in the center of the Merkaba. And so put your attention on this one for right now. And just see that. It's like a flat, lazy 8 going just like this. And again, just think about some of the polarities on the two sides, and then have the intention, I am moving into the 0 point of my being, and just visualize that lazy 8 is starting to shrink. It's getting smaller, like the width from left to right is getting smaller. It's getting smaller. It's moving more toward the center, until there's just a little bit on either side. That's like the subtle level of duality and polarity. And then just feel, poof, just pop into the middle, to the 0 point. Now put your attention in the center of your head. That's center of the head is a really powerful way to access the 0 point. So to know if you're in the center of your head, it's around where the pineal gland is if you imagine that, let's say there's like crawling snails or something. How many crawling snails would it take to go from the center of your head to the front of your head? There should be the same amount of crawling snails to go from the center of your head to the back of your head, or butterflies or ping pong balls or marbles or whatever you want to think of. So you just think of that, you'll know you're in the center of your head. And again, imagine that lazy 8 infinity symbol in the left and right brain, and the crossing point is in that center point where the pineal gland is, or the corpus callosum. And again, I can easily, if I want to, feel how much my mind has, can be in polarity and da 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 da. It's an old story. So what I'm doing is letting myself feel that a moment, and how much I don't really want to stay in that, and then just feeling that lazy 8, that infinity symbol, shrinking, getting closer, smaller, closer together, shrinking, more toward the center. And then there's a little bit left on either side, a tiny little figure 8. That's the subtle level of duality, which is the hardest part to get rid of, by the way. And then just see it pop. It just goes right into the center of the brain. The lazy 8 disappears into the center of the brain. Just be with that for a moment. If it feels like nothing, that's what it is. It's the void, it's the zero, it's nothing. And yet in that is everything. People who are addicted to their digital device and have to always have some kind of stimulation, they're just avoiding the 0 point. But my advice is don't avoid the void. If you ever feel your mind wandering, no problem, just come back to the 0 point. You can just do the figure 8 again, shrinking back to the center. Do it as many times as you want. There's no way to do this wrong. It's just a matter of practice. As physicists say, if we ever learn how to do interstellar travel, it'll be by tuning into this 0 point. That's how powerful it is. Anything that you want to manifest in your life, this is the point it'll come from. It won't come from the duality. If it does, it'll be, full of drama and ups and downs and, like typical, a lot of disappointments. When you learn to manifest from the 0 point, that's how God manifests. That's in the beginning, let there be light kind of level, kind of thing. Does anybody want to say anything about what it was like so far?
It was nicer if I could get my mind to surrender to not thinking. It was better when I didn't think about it. But that
Right.
was, so I could make it in.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about it, I just do it. Because the thinking is the hard part, or it's the wrong part. And I don't know if it's wrong, but I find it easier to not think. See, I'm not thinking right now. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah, there you go.
Good work.
Yeah. So did you have any moments of feeling the 0 point during that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but I got there, yes.
Yeah, well, that's good. You see, this is one of those things, it's like working out in the gym. It takes practice. This hasn't come easily to me either. I just keep plugging away at it, and I find that I'm having more moments in the 0 point and less moments feeling like, "Ugh," and it's great. So if you felt it at all, congratulations. Yeah. Anybody else experience? How many people felt like you experienced the 0 point, like you could touch it? Yeah.
I felt much more present. You looked brighter. Everything seemed brighter and more immediate. So it was a shift in my awareness.
Yeah. Yeah.
My head thinking, stop.
You know, there's this term that's a lot called an altered state. And I actually think that the more we go into what's called these kind of states, it's more of an unaltered state. The altered state is what's normal in this world. This dream of this fallen human race, that's the altered state. But when you're experiencing the 0 point and divine love, and actually I really love television.
You do.
You television, I television, and we share it with each other. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I think that this is, we're really going into an unaltered state by doing this ascension work. How would you refer to it, Vidya?
Not from Swami beyond Ananda.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're asking, but what I...
Well, in other words, as we go more in ascension consciousness, how would you compare that to what most of us spend time in? If that doesn't make sense to you, that's okay. That's okay. Okay.
I must be in the altered state.
Yeah, she's too unaltered to answer my altered question. Okay. Okay, so anyway, we're going to go into the next practice now. But first we have to do something. You need to stand up a moment, please, and get in a line. So we're standing in one long line. This is a very important part of the work here. Okay, so now that we've gotten physical, 3D, we can go back to something else, to some activation. Okay, I'll make another picture here. Okay, so I made it too big. I have to do this again. All right, let's try this again. All right, so let's say make a smaller person here. And 2 eyes. Okay. If you look at the handout I gave you, there's a picture of Metatron's cube on the back, which is a sacred geometric form.
You got it right here.
Oh, it's right up there.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So we're going to be working with that in this next activation. And so imagine here's Metatron's cube down here underneath your feet with all the circles. I don't know, I can't draw it properly, but something like that. And then the light body, the Merkaba, looks something like this. It's called a star tetrahedron. And it's 2 counter-rotating tetrahedrons that rotate, and then the part in between where they overlap is that point where we did the 0 point in the chest area. So this is just to give you a rough idea of something that we'll be talking about in this meditation. So close your eyes again, get yourself in a meditative posture. So we'll go back to what we talked about with the core of the earth. So sending your love down to the core of the earth, reconnecting your root chakra. And actually, according to many teachings I've read, the core of the earth is our root chakra. The thing in between our legs is just a connection point, really, to our real root chakra, which is the core of Mother Earth. And so much we've gotten disconnected from the earth by living in civilization and not honoring the sacred spots and the vortexes and all that. We just live in our own vortex. So just intend to connect with the sacred sites of the earth and the minerals and the crystals and all the electromagnet, all the healthy fields of the earth. And so just send that beam of love from your heart down to your sacred heart to the core of the earth. Feel the love come back up to your heart again. Just visualize it, imagine it, intend it, whatever. And then from your heart, send that beam all the way up to the Father Sky, the universe, crystal universe, galactic center, however you fancy it. And feeling that love come back to your heart again. And now, just that picture on the wall of the Metatron's cube, you can imagine that there's one on the floor underneath your feet, and it's big, and you're in the middle of it. And your feet are connecting to the light grid of the earth. And that, if you look at the Metatron's cube, there's 13 circles in it. And each one of those turns into a pillar that rises up, spinning counterclockwise, moving through your body and around your body, and it kind of goes outward like a cone until it gets faster and faster and faster until it's just this huge vortex of counterclockwise spinning conical light around your whole body, filling your whole body and going above your body. And within that, Metatron's cube is all the Platonic solids, all the sacred geometries are contained within Metatron's cube. So imagine that picture I drew on the flip chart. One pyramid-like star tetrahedron spinning with the point up above your head and the base of it down around your lower leg. Another one that's upside down with the base up around your chest and the point, the apex, down below your feet. And it's spinning both counterclockwise and clockwise at the same time at the speed of light both ways. And there's another third one that just sits still in the middle. So there's 3 of these star tetrahedrons, yes. Tetrahedra, right, is a good way to put it too. Just faster and faster till you're in your Merkaba. Grounded to Mother Earth, grounded to the universe. Powered by love. Now, the man I learned the most of this about, Drunvalo Melchizedek, said, without love, this will not activate. Or won't go very far. And just intend to experience this, not just have it be a mental visualization. Just ask your body to show you what it feels like, what the vibration is of being in your light body. In whatever way you sense it, doesn't matter, how it comes, no measurement, no right or wrong, just ask. Please show me, tangibly, something that I can actually experience for myself right now about my light body. And then just accept whatever comes. Don't have an idea what it should be like. Let the sacred sound of the crickets empower this. Now, visualize a DNA double helix. Just choose it anywhere in your body, just any random place. Just choose a double helix DNA strand. It's like a spiral like a spiral ladder. It's what it looks like with all these nucleotides embedded on them. And just put it in front of your attention, like in front of you, and magnified so you can see it clearly. And just visualize it blazing with light, getting more and more bright light around that strand of DNA. And now if you choose to receive this activation, tell it to the divine, silently. Nothing is forced on you. This is all your sovereignty. If you choose to do this ascension practice, so there's 12 potential strands of DNA, and whatever you're ready for could be activated right now. And if so, again, just see that, or imagine that that strand of DNA in front of you is changing. Like more strands are showing up. I've seen different artist conceptions of that, but it doesn't matter. Any symbol, any image you have is fine. They're all blazing with light, and they're vibrating with the universal harmonies of creation. And with love, with divine power. So just imagine that there is a blazing sun of light in the middle of this room. And if you choose to accept this activation, you just tap into it. And it comes into your heart and then just activates DNA to whatever extent is right for you. And wherever you are in the country, if you're watching Zoom, no different, exactly the same thing, same process. Okay, 2 more minutes. I am decrees are very, very helpful in this type of work because it gives your mind something to do that'll bring you into this alignment. So I'm going to suggest to say to yourself out loud or silently, I am the presence of divine love. I am the presence of divine love. I am the presence of divine love. And now let's do light. I am the presence of divine light. I am the presence of divine light. I am the presence of divine light. When you say the word I am, you're invoking the highest power available to you. So it's very important to think of what you're going to put after those 2 words. So you might as well say something great like, I am the presence of divine light. One of my favorite ones is, I am the presence of the divine, flowing divine love to all life everywhere. Because that's not me. So why not? It's not my personal self doing that. I can be a channel for that. I am the presence of divine, flowing divine love to all life everywhere. People got mixed up when Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father but through me. Because he wasn't talking about him. He wasn't, when I am, he wasn't talking about himself, a man. He was talking about the I am presence. Okay, so we can open your eyes again. Just look around the room. Just notice if anything seems any different to you, receiving that activation. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'd like to just ask anybody to share, because when you share something, it really grounds these experiences in. I know a lot of people are shy to speak in a group and all that, but I tell you, it's a real great opportunity just to say something about what you experienced. So I just invite anyone to share what your experience was having this.
Okay.
What?
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Well, there was a lot of golden light, and I saw a lot of geometry, specifically when we were doing the Metatronic tetrahedron, double tetrahedron with all those pillars. It seemed to take on light in the sense of they became like so many golden triangles in diamond shapes. And I was like expecting, like I've done done different meditations, but this was incredible in the golden light that I saw with all these triangles and diamonds everywhere and moving. It wasn't just the
Right.
yeah. So it was very visual, very beautiful, and very golden light for me. Anyway,
Thank you.
thank you. It was beautiful.
Anybody else want to say anything? It doesn't have to be someone, it could be a challenge you had. It could be anything. Just what your experience was doing this.
It's hard to describe, but it just felt really peaceful. And what I visualized was the 12 strands being all the circles of the Metatron's cube, and they were all winding around, and it was just like I was in the center of this centrifugal force of love.
Cool.
I felt a newfound lightness.
Lightness.
Weight, less weight.
Exactly. I kind of like
I found my eyes fluttering like a REM state,
Yeah.
and I felt that the twin rotations of that visualization just sort of elevated that vision, and I just felt like a lot of waves as I like imagined love just radiating from a center point outward into all things. It just felt like almost like getting the chills. You just get this building just within yourself. It's powerful.
Yeah. So this is always available to us. You don't have to even be in a special gathering like this. It's just it's our unaltered state. So, but it takes practice. I find it takes practice because I built up habits. We all built up habits of thinking and duality for so long that you have to really want this to practice. Do meditation every day and practicing. That's why I wrote those practices down for you, because if you want to do that, and there's a lot more resources I have.
So Darren,
Yeah.
we have an online thought.
Yes, please. I'd like to share with anybody. So, yes, whatever you put in the chat now, Dan can read. If you have a few comments. So, yes.
It's having to do with, okay, so we're the channel, and we're also the energy. So we're the channel and the energy. So is there a separation between the two?
That's a great question. Very deep question. Because, what's the name of the person who said that? Star. Okay, Star, that's such a great question because it takes you, even contemplating that takes you in.
Repeat the question.
Okay, the question from that Dan said that from Star is, I sense myself as a channel and as energy. And which one out?
So it's just, I think she says, Dr. Darren says, we are the channel for the energy. I am saying we are the energy. We are
Okay.
the channel and the energy. Why separate ourselves by thinking we are just the channel?
Okay, so Star's saying, why separate ourselves? Saying we're the channel for the energy. And that's great. You're taking what I'm saying another step up, notch up. So thank you. Because ultimately, that's another duality. Like even the idea that we're channeling an energy is another duality, right? So thanks for calling me on that. And so that means you're really getting the benefit of this practice because it's taking you into the oneness where you don't even need that duality. Like I'm channeling from something else that's coming through me. It all really is one. And the mind can't comprehend it. The mind can't understand it. So we just have to be in the 0 point and be willing to be in what feels like nothing sometimes, and know that that nothing has everything in it. It's not actually like let me out of here and turn on my cell phone. Or, put on some rap music quick. But no, it's just like it's cool to be in the nothing. Yeah. Yes. What's your name?
Yes, Kathleen.
Kathleen. Yeah.
Yeah, so that comment actually helped me crystallize what, I was kind of puzzled what my experience was. I've always had trouble with this particular meditation that I made.
Yeah.
Because it feels like something outside of me. And my primary practice is kind of the Eckhart Tolle approach.
Okay.
Eckhart Tolle has a thing called the inner body where you just tune into your inner body and then the light just kind of comes through there. So I just went ahead and did that. Because it felt like doing the cube and everything was doing something outside of me. So it's almost the same. When you said the DNA, I imagine I could feel each of my cells and the DNA in each of those. So it's kind of like adapting
Yeah.
in a way that felt more like it was emerging here rather than coming from outside.
Yeah, so Kathleen was just talking about how it felt a little dualistic to her, like trying to visualize something separate from herself, and that she went into her inner body that Eckhart Tolle talks about. So yeah, this is great. I mean, we're all just ratcheting this up.
Right.
You know, like sometimes the mind needs something to latch onto, so these visualizations gets it going. But then if it's a good practice, it takes you out of the technique and into just knowing that there is no. So congratulations, Kathleen, and to Star. You know, anybody who's noticing that, like, hey, wait a minute, what Darren's saying is he's full of it because he's used to saying one more duality, then that means you're getting it. Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, and we're helping each other with this. So one of the things I said we're going to do is go into dyads and do quantum healing, but I don't think we have time for that. But because I want to do this assemblage point, but just know you can do that whenever you want. You can go home and do it for your children or your dog or your boyfriend or your whatever it is. You can do it. You can do it for yourself. So I'm just going to give you a very brief. Again, quantum healing is something that, like, I have students that study it over a year or more to really, and to embody it, to really deepen it, to learn to do it as a profession, or to integrate it with their acupuncture or their body work or their medicine, whatever they're doing. But the thing is, you can totally do it now. So I just want to give you a very brief guideline. If you want to do quantum healing, you get into the quantum field by doing some of the things we talked about here. And then just go into the 0 point. Like do that visualization to put yourself in the center of your head, center of your chest. Bring yourself into that. And then somebody else you want to offer a healing to, or yourself, you have the intention, I am extending the quantum field to that person, or to myself, or to this group, or to my cat. And then you hold that being in love, and then trust that it's happening. That's how simple it is. That's the first level of starting to do quantum healing. So if we had more time, we could do workshops, but we're going to have to not do that tonight. So what I want to do next, and so I urge you to try to practice that with people. So as far as the assemblage point, this is a really amazing thing that I'm glad I can just take a few more minutes to share with you. And so what I want to do is do some demos of checking people's assemblage point and adjusting it. And I'll check everyone in the room if you want. Whoever wants it checked, I'll do, because it doesn't take long to check. And then explain what it is mentally so you know what it is. And then if most people, I'd assume your assemblage point is probably okay, especially after all these practices. But people have been through a lot of trauma in the past that hasn't really resolved, that you're still carrying that. Or like in my case, when I did those 4 ayahuasca ceremonies, it knocked my assemblage point out. And the person leading that ceremony didn't know he didn't understand the assemblage point, so he couldn't help me get it back. I called him like every couple of months. Hey man, I still feel, and he kept giving me all this advice that didn't help, like take certain herbs or relax or whatever it was. So I had to go to England to find a guy who was an expert, Dr. John Whale, who taught me how to adjust the assemblage point, and now I do it for others. Like one interesting thing is I had a guy contact me who lives in Mexico City. He was a young entrepreneur and about 40 years old. He's 42 years old, and he had taken ecstasy, MDMA, when he was 20. And he got really whacked out, and he felt like he was discombobulated, not aligned. And he spent 20 years trying to find, I mean, he could still function, but he never felt like himself. He said he went to all these healers, and he couldn't find anyone that could help him get it back. So he found my website and saw this thing about he adjusts the assemblage point in Mill Valley, California. So he contacted me, and he was on a business trip in LA. So he made a special trip to San Francisco Airport and drove up to Mill Valley. This was in August. And I did what I'm going to show you tonight. And he just like 22 years just gone, and he just felt like he was back. And I've had that happen with a lot of people. And like a lot of clients who need it, they instantly feel a shift from it. It's not a subtle thing you have to imagine, if you really need it. So to understand about the assemblage point, I'll just draw it down here, is that imagine that this is, again, I should really take an art course. If I'm going to teach these kind of seminars, I don't know.
We get the idea.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, let's say this is a heart chakra. So here's the big energy field. It's called the toroidal field that surrounds the body. So the center of that toroidal field should be also where the center of the heart chakra is. Then your assemblage point is aligned. If the assemblage point starts moving upward, like in other words, the energy field is high in relation to the person's body and it's somewhere up here, people tend to have anxiety. It's hard to shake anxiety and panic attacks, things like that. If it tends to dip low, people have a combination of fatigue and depression that they just can't shake off. No matter what they do all the right things, whatever it is. If it goes too far to the left, it makes you kind of manic and driven, like on overdrive. And the further it is, the more overdrive it is. To the right, to the left, it's feeling kind of dissociated and spacey. And if it goes to the left and down, it's called dementia. So that's how power of the assemblage point, having it aligned in the right place.
You can see that all laid out on the website.
Yeah, on the website, drstarwynn.com, which is on the thing I gave you, I have a whole long article about that. And also I refer you to Dr. Whale. His website is called whalemedical.com, like whale, like the animal in the ocean, whalemedical.com. And he's the expert. And so he's written all these books about it. Yes, Daddy?
Can you adjust this remotely, or does someone have to be with you physically?
For me so far, I find I have to be with someone physically, and I have a special crystal I use for it. And I have also a device in my office that does it with energy medicine, which is if the crystal doesn't work, that uses gem therapy. So I need a volunteer, somebody who feels like maybe they've been a little discombobulated and would like to have... Okay, come on up here. Yeah, right there is good. Just like here. Yeah, okay. Just breathe normally. Okay, yours is the same as him. It's interesting. A little bit to the right. See something about this 999. Okay, so right here is right, sense the assemblage point. So turn the other way and let's adjust it, okay? Assume that you want that since you came up here, okay?
Can you get it so the camera can see you?
Yeah, maybe even a little more so they can see more, yeah. All right, so just breathe normally. Now, I'm going to do the same thing. 3 big breaths in and out. Another big breath in and then hold it. Release. Okay, please turn the other way. Let's check here again. Perfect. It's right in the center now. Okay, so what did you notice during that?
I just sort of felt intense, I guess. I didn't expect that, like when you hit my back, I didn't think it would, like it was vibrational.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure. I think I'm still kind of, I don't know, experiencing it.
Yeah, well, just take a sip of water, relax. It's going to settle in a little bit more over the next few minutes.
Yeah, it didn't feel bad. It felt good.
Yeah,
It was kind of nice the way the crystal felt against me too. Like that was powerful in its own way. It was like powerful but gentle.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jen. So before we close the group officially, we're going to do a blessing for the earth and for the United States. Not that they're two separate things, but I've been thinking a lot about this, what's going on in this country lately, as many people have. So just, be in the quantum field, be in your sacred heart. And right here, let's imagine a map of the United States, and then around it is the rest of the earth. Supreme Court, Congress, politics, economics, justice, environment, all the things that, basically I have no doubt that if we just woke up a little more and put our heads together and our hearts together, we have the technology to solve all these issues. So seeing the light blazing through this country and blazing through this planet. I know that these people whose names we hear in the news, President Trump and these different people who are, in all the different polarized situations, they're God beings also. And if they were to awaken even a little bit, they would change. And if the people who put them in power would awaken a little more, things would change. And so that's just flow your love and your light toward this. And let's do some ohms with it, some sounds. Let's do 3 ohms together to send this blessing out to everyone. All we have to do is connect with our own 0 point, our own I am presence, and then request the divine for what needs to be done. Request the ascended masters, the divine, and they will respond. That's their promise. We have to just be in our own I am presence, our own center. So I'm asking for divine intervention in whatever way is appropriate and real at this time. That miracles of healing and resolution happen in this fall season. Okay, thank you so much for participating in that. So I want to just point out on this sheet that I gave you, and by the way, I will email everybody a PDF copy of this in case you didn't get it or you want a PDF or whatever it is. As long as you registered or you put on your name on the sign-up sheet with a clear email, you'll get it. Is that for anybody who is called to learn more about quantum healing and doing the Ascension practices, like I mentioned, I do have a school, Bridge to Mastery, and there's several programs starting up this fall for people that want to go deeper into this work and add it to whatever they do professionally or just for themselves or their family. It's also, we're doing a program for people who are coaches, that work in business coaches, and another new program for people that are artists as well. That's coming up soon. So basically, whether you're a healer, a coach, or an artist, they'll be working with this Ascension work. And it's a group of people that's all over the country. We have Zoom conference calls once every 2 weeks. There's videos on my website that you watch, and you actually can get a certification in this. And then we have a live retreat. The next retreat is coming up near Santa Cruz. It's called the Mount Madonna Center. And it's going to be November 30th through December 3rd. And it's coming up, and whether you're a member of the school or not, you're still welcome to attend the retreat. Yes?
Just raising my hand to go.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So what I'm basically going to say is the sign-up sheet was out there, and if you want to get more information about any of these programs, just put a note on the sign-up sheet that you want to have a phone call with me, and I'll set it up with you. That's all you have to do, okay? Or tell me, whatever it is. But basically, anybody interested, I just set up a brief phone call, and we'll just talk about it, what your interests are, what your needs are, and how some of this might line up. So anyway, let's just do a closing. Let's just get a circle and hold hands to close this. And those of you who are with us from another place, if you're still awake on the East Coast, please just imagine that you're holding hands with us, you're joining us, just be with us. All right. So I'm just really grateful for every person who showed up here in this room or on Zoom tonight, on the room or Zoom, and for the masters who are blessing us and sending their radiations to us through these transmissions, the divine transmissions. And I'm grateful for the grace. That grace seems to be something that gives us more good and less bad than we would have otherwise created for ourselves. Does anybody else want to say anything in closing?
Thank you.
Thank you, Darren.
Very nice, thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Yeah. And this is one of these drugs you don't come down on. Ascension is one that you just keep going up. And you can, okay, so thank you. Love you, love you, love you. And there's a Chinese term, gong sung, that means respectfully return. It means all the divine beings that are here, we're just respectfully sending them back. So say gong sung with me 3 times. Gong sung, gong sung, gong sung. Okay, thank you. So anyway, this event is officially closed. For those online, good night. Thank you so much for being with me. I do have a recording of this, which hopefully worked, and I'll make that available. It's also going to be on Dan's 5D. What's it going to be on?
So we'll put it on the 5D Village YouTube channel, and so we'll send it out, and we'll keep you in touch with what's going on with 5D Village as well, because there's other events like this.
Yeah, other events coming up. And so for anybody who wants to stick around, have me check your assemblage point, you're welcome to. Just come on up here, and we will do that. Okay. Okay.
Okay,
So line up.
see you soon.
Okay. See you soon.
Did you already do it already? Or where'd you go? Oh,
I got signed in.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
Tell me your name again.
Angela.
Angela, hi. Okay, so ready for me to check you? Okay, so just stand like that. Okay.